Hey guys, what's going on? A couple weeks ago, one of my active subscribers I was talking with, and I said that I would analyze one of their games, and so they sent me one that they played on chess.com. They're rated a little over 500, so 514. The white player was my subscriber, and black is the other person. This was a 30-minute game on chess.com, and there was a lot of good learning opportunities, so let's take a look. All right, so we got e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4. So this is all great. White's doing a good job attacking the center, d4, Scotch game here. Now bishop b4 check. This is a move that's really shouldn't be played. And at first glance, a lot of beginners like to do this. So they see a check on the king and they think, oh, checks are good, let me just do it. Well, checks can be good in chess, but they're not automatically good. And checks that don't lead to checkmate or don't lead to any type of material gain like winning pieces, sometimes they're just not good. And this is a good example. So even though it's check, white has the move c3, and if white blocks with the pawn, he's not only blocking the check, but now the bishop is under attack, and black has to move the same piece that he just moved again. And so one of the principles in chess that you want to try to follow is not to move the same piece twice in the opening if you can help it. And so white had the ability to make black move the bishop twice had they played c3. Now, knight c3 was played, which is not a bad move by any means. I mean, you're developing a piece to a good square, so that makes sense. But in this case, when you can gain a tempo on a piece like that, I would have preferred c3, and then bring the knight to d2 later after you get your bishop out. That would have been really good for white. But let's go ahead and move on. So black captured. This is fine. Queen to f6. And bishop to e3. So bishop e3, really good move. Black was threatening the knight, and so white had to defend it. Bishop e3, great way to do it. It also, backs up this pawn, which black is attacking. But bishop e3, great move. And now knight h6. Okay, knights on the rim usually aren't great. And so one thing that white could have done, which would have been a really nice move, is bishop to e2. And the point is, we're finishing developing, so we're getting the last piece off the back rank, but we're also lining up to prevent black's knight from going to g4. And the thing that you might say is, well, it's already prevented because of the queen. Well, not actually. And you're going to see about what happened in the game why that's the case. So bishop c4 was played, which, okay, generally speaking, great move, developing a piece to a good diagonal. So I can't complain about that. Now knight to g4, and at first glance, it looks like it's just a free piece. Now I have to believe that black probably didn't see the queen, but maybe there's a chance that he actually saw what was coming next, but I'm kind of guessing that he may have got a little bit lucky here. But anyway, white captured the knight, which looks like a free knight, but it's actually not, because now the knight on d4 is undefended. So this was a little tricky spot to be in. Black did capture, and a natural move does look like taking the knight would make sense. But in this case, you have to look one move deeper. So if we say, okay, if I capture, what's black going to do, most likely guaranteed next move going to be? Well, he's going to take it back, right? And once he does that, where's his queen going to be? What's his queen going to be attacking? And so you might notice the bishop, and then also this knight is going to be attacked twice. And so that's what happened in the game, and that's the trouble that white got into. So at this point, white's in not a good spot. So going back, the best move probably would have been to castle. Either direction really would be okay. If you castle kingside, you are giving up this pawn, but then you have a big lead in development. You're castled, and black still hasn't developed. So I think white has counterplay there. If you castle queenside, that's also an option. Then you defend your pawn. But let's see what happened. And this is, I don't consider this a blunder. This is just a tactic that worked out in black's favor. So captures. And the issue now for white is that, number one, his bishop is under attack. And number two, the knight is under attack. And after black captures, there's going to be a fork on the king and the rook. And white really doesn't have a way to defend everything. His best option would have been to go bishop to d3. And then, captures. And even though there's a fork, at least now white can play king to e2 and save his rook. And the bishop kind of, defends everything, and black's queen can't really do anything at the moment to white's king. So not the best position for white, giving up castling rights like that, but at least this is playable, and it's only a slight advantage for black. But if we go back, what actually happened in the game, and first of all, I'll say this is a hard move to find. If you're not used to looking for things like that, bishop d3 is kind of a tough move to find. But queen to e2 was played, more natural looking move just to defend it. The problem is that if black captures this, takes, now there's a fork and there's no way to save your rook. And so losing a rook is a really big deal. And so that's why the bishop d3 is an important move to find. But what happened in the game, so after queen e2, black didn't see it. Okay, so black castles. He doesn't go for the fork. He didn't see that he could have won a rook. And so white had a chance now to kind of get out of this jam. So castling kingside would be okay. That way, if black captures, you still lose the pawn, but there's no more fork, and you don't lose a rook. And then you're ahead in development. Your king is safe. You can carry on with the game. Okay, but white didn't see that. Played bishop to d3, and now black actually does see what he can do and takes advantage of that. So trades, and you see what we were talking about earlier. White has to get out of this check, and there's no way to save the rook. And so we have queen d2 captures, and queen d1. And if white would have tried to, move the king up, then he's going to lose both rooks. So that wasn't an option either. So queen d1 only move here. And black should have taken this. Okay, black should have traded this off. So another principle is when you're ahead a significant amount of material, like in this case, black is ahead by a rook, you want to trade pieces, especially big pieces like the queen. Because if you go into an endgame up a rook, the extra rook is going to be able to just take all of the pawns, and you're going to be able to, push one of these and get a new queen. And so it's much easier to win than when you leave white's queen on the board, especially at these lower levels. You give him chances, right? Chances to checkmate you, chances for you to make a blunder. The queen is a very powerful piece. So when you're ahead a lot of material, just trade it off, okay? Just trade it off. So that's what black should have done. He didn't do that. Queen f6. Castles, good move, getting the king to safety. d5. Okay, that was just losing a pawn. Probably should have just went d6. And now queen to d4. And here's a moment where I think white played c4. And there's a little trick here that had white seen it, he could have really taken control of this game. And so there's actually what's called a discovered attack on black's queen. So a discovered attack means you have to move a piece out of the way, and then you have an attack on another piece. So in this case, if white moves the bishop, then his queen is attacking black's queen. And so one thing that I'll say is when you're doing your blunder checks, okay, and so if you're going through and you're like, all right, let me see if I can take any of my opponent's pieces. Can I take this? No. 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 Oh, I can almost take it. If you find yourself saying something like that, like I can almost do something, a lot of times in chess when you say that, I can almost do something, there's a good chance that maybe you actually can do it. You just have to figure out how. Right? And so a lot of tactics, you'll find this when you do tactics puzzles, is you'll look at them the first time and you'll be like, it almost looks like I almost have a checkmate there. It just doesn't quite work. But then there's like one or maybe two moves that you can play first that sets it up so that it does work. And this is a perfect example of that, right? I can almost take his queen. If only my bishop wasn't in the way. I wonder where I can move my bishop to. You kind of follow that train of thought. And maybe you can find, oh yeah, what if I move it over here and put him in check? Because you have to get out of check. He's going to have to take me, and then I can take the queen. Right? So in your games, if you ever, almost can do something, think on it a little longer and see if maybe there actually is a way to do what, you can almost do. So that would have been a really good move to find, but, white didn't see that. So c4, bishop g4, okay? And again, the same trick is there, right? You can still capture, discovered attack on the queen. So two chances for that one. Bishop to e2. All right, if you didn't see that, this is not a bad move. You got to do something about your queen. So bishop to e2. And now black plays c5. And I guess the idea was, defend the queen with the pawn. But if we're doing a blunder check as white, right, we go through, can I take the rook? No. Can I take the rook? No. Can I take the queen? Well, yeah, but it's just a trade. What about the bishop? Can I take the bishop? Oh, yeah. I can take the bishop, right? So this was a blunder here. Should have captured the bishop. But en passant instead, black plays rook to d8. And again, we should be doing blunder check. Can I take these? Can I take these? Oh, what about the bishop? It's still hanging over there, right? You can take it. And then even if he takes you, you can come back with your bishop. And you're still winning the piece, right? So This is not a bad move either. It's better to just take the piece, but this is, okay, because it's threatening something, so that's not bad. And black captures here, and this is somewhat of a complicated position, so I can't blame, white for not finding the correct move here, but this is a good example of how tactics puzzles can really help you. So this is a type of position that you would see in a tactics puzzle. Like if you go on chess.com and go through the tactics puzzles, this is a very good example of a position you would get into. So for everybody watching, if you want to take a second, what's the best move for white in this position? Well, if you said queen takes d4, you are correct. So the reason queen takes d4 is the best move is because you just took a queen, so black most likely is going to want to take you back. If he doesn't, well, you just won a queen. So let's say he takes you. The problem then is that nothing is defending this rook anymore. So not only do you take the rook, you also promote to a queen. And on top of that, you have back rank mate. So the only thing black could do is block and then game over. So if we go back, the way that I would have found this move in this position is just by looking at different captures, okay? And so I would start with my queen, and I would say, okay, I could take the bishop. What's going to happen, right? Well, for one, I get a bishop, not bad, but then black's going to like move his rook over, and I'm still down a rook, right? I have a queen and a rook. He's got a queen and 2 rooks, so I'm still losing. And then I would continue and keep checking. So maybe I would check this one next. Like, what happens if I take, the rook? What's he going to do? And you have to figure it out. Well, maybe he will take my queen. Okay, and then maybe I could take his, that looks pretty good. But what else could he do? Maybe he'll take my queen, right? Like, let's say he takes it with the bishop. Okay, well, I have another queen, so I'm not too bad. But then he still has an extra piece, and my queen's under attack, and he's kind of defended. So I don't know how good that is. And you keep going through. Sorry, he had just captured. So you keep going through, and you get to this move. Okay, what if I take the queen? Well, he's going to take me back, and then can I do anything? Oh, yeah, then I could take the rook. And so these types of positions, tactic puzzles really help. The best thing to do is just kind of make sure you consider every option. You can't see the clock on the screen right now, but at this point in the game, white had 18 minutes left in the 30-minute game. And so he had plenty of time. He should have taken his time, really thought through this position very carefully, especially when there's lots of captures. You want to slow down because usually if there's lots of captures, there might be some sort of trick that you can do. So that would have been a really nice way to win the game for white. But instead, he very quickly just captured the bishop. So I think one tip for this player is to slow down a little bit, especially in those complicated positions. Just take it easy, double check things, triple check things, and I think that's going to help them a lot. So then black moved the rook over. And white played here. The idea was good, lining up on the queen, trying to create some pressure. The problem is you have to count how many pieces are attacking. There's 2 attacking, only 1 defending. And on top of that, back rank, you have to be very careful about your back rank. And so the game ended on a back rank checkmate. All right, so the big takeaways from this game, I would say, was right here. So if you have something that you can almost do, take some time and see if there's a way to make it work. So like in this case, by sacrificing the bishop with check, could have won the queen. And then, just blunder checks, make sure you're checking all the pieces. That's obviously important. And then when you get in these kind of complicated positions, number 1, slow down a little bit, take some extra time. And number 2, when there's lots of captures, make sure you're considering all the options, right? So like in this position, there was 1, 2, 3 options. And I don't think that white actually looked at all 3 of those. I think he very quickly, went for this one. And so you want to make sure that you are considering all your options in positions like this. And, probably would have found this move and then won the game. So those are the big takeaways. And then lastly, just, watch out for the back rank mate. Sorry, that's not what happened in the game. The game went like this. And so, yeah, just watch out for back rank checkmates. All right, guys, well, I hope that was helpful and you learned something. As always, thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.